Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Wonderful. It's a fantastic day here in San Jose, California. It's a beautiful day. Yesterday I was complaining. Yesterday I was upset because it didn't get to 70 degrees when the weatherman said it was going to. Instead, we only got to around 61. And then I was told to stop complaining. We have people in the East, the Midwest, Texas, Mexico, all over that are experiencing very bad storms. And here I am grumbling about the fact that I can't go out in my shirt sleeves. It's a little bit chilly. And so I stopped complaining, okay? But I want to please recommend that you do go outside today. Just take a walk. Just go outside and say some prayers outside. Don't you feel that when you're outside that God hears your prayers better? I always do. And it's going to be a nice day. It's not going to be 75. But it's going to be a nice day, so please take that opportunity. Now, for church today, we have the wonderful Reverend Michael Imler, and he is here, and he's going to be speaking about entering the movement of creation. I have no idea what that means. It's going to be exciting. Yes, it is. And he has written a book for you who haven't gotten a copy of the book of Living a Sacred Life. I've read it. In fact, I helped edit it. It's so great. I really recommend, if you're interested in getting a copy, let us know. And we can have some of the for you available, I'm sure, at the center for you to come by and pick it up. We're going in and out at the center a little bit more these days, especially people who are feeling comfortable to go out. Please, when you enter the center, please wear a mask and wash your hands, because we want to keep the sanctuary as sacred as possible. And then we have all of these other people that are coming up, because one of them is Joycee Brown. She's coming up on March 7th. And, she's one of those people, because she's going to be talking about the power of the voice, and she does have a great voice. If you haven't heard her, you're going to really appreciate her. Now, Connie Habish is coming in next week. She is somebody who has been here at the center so many times to talk. And we always enjoy her, no matter what it is she's talking about. And she's talking about opening to grace. I think that's one of the things we all need to do. We need to open ourselves up to grace. Now, our Reverend Habish has written a book, and it's called Awakening from Anxiety. Isn't that what we all need to do as we're coming back online, as it were? Start awakening, letting go of the anxiety. Now, our wonderful Reverend Connie is also a marriage and family therapist. And she is, as I said, a very interesting speaker. So here you've got 1, 2, 3. You've got Sean, you've got Connie, you've got Joycee. A lot of really good headliners coming up for your church. Now, we also have today our talk about a headliner, our Reverend Dr. Ayleen Augustine, who is going to be doing not only our prayer, but a message. And she's going to be talking to us about what's going on in her little neck of the woods up in Boulder Creek. And we always love to hear from her. And then we're going to be hearing from a wonderful Reverend Janet Childs. Reverend Janet is going to be singing and doing our meditation. And it's going to be accompanied by videos by Reverend Corry Gott. Now, when I say all these reverends, you must think about to yourself, who are all these reverends? Well, we're all members of a foundation organization, a wonderful New Thought church called the Universal Church of the Master. And if you're interested in becoming a member of the Universal Church of the Master or a minister, please give me a call at 408-220-5780, and we can talk about it. You'd be surprised what becoming a minister does to your life and helps you as you're moving through the difficult times that we've been experiencing. Okay? Now, just because we're still in the month of love We're going to hear a lot of music and songs about love. And we might even have a few surprise guests drop by. You never know. So please stay tuned.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Ayleen Augustine, and I am the President of the Universal Church of the Master, and I am very pleased to be here to supply the morning prayer. And I wanted to offer my sincerest thanks to all those who have, given me their prayers and their support and their love. 2020 was definitely a challenging year for many, and myself included. And 2021 seems to have started off sort of on a similar vein. It's like we're in the bonus tracks of it. So I just wanted to thank everyone. And I also wanted to make an announcement that due to circumstances, I will no longer be treating at the office where I am treating. And as of March 1st, I will be transitioning out of that space, or I will have transitioned out of that space. And after significant consideration over what I wanted to do, I really hadn't planned on having to create a change, and I really wasn't counting on it. But when things are handed to us, we have to make the best of them. So what I've decided to do is that I am going to begin a mobile practice, which means that I will be able to come to you and, having all of the sanitizing things and observing, all of the cleanliness requirements. I will be able to come to you to be able to treat. Now, for those who, my distance limit is 1 hour from the San Jose area. I didn't want to set it at 1 hour from my house because, well, it takes me almost an hour to get to the Bay Area. So basically, I'm centering it pretty much where CCL would be. And it's 1 hour from that distance. Now, for those who either live further than an hour or who may not have it available to them to be treated in their homes, I will be providing treatments at CCL. I do have a portable table, so for those who will need to be treated in that environment, Dottie has very generously worked out an arrangement with me to allow me to come in and rent as needed. And that is tremendously helpful to me, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. So on Monday, I will be posting the upgrade to my website, and that's gotten a whole facelift. So I will also be posting it on Facebook. And change is inevitable. And it's not so much the change that we have the opportunity to grow from, but our ability to adapt to it. And now that, kind of the initial, what has kind of subsided, and I've had chance to meditate on it and pray on it, I find myself very excited about this new opportunity. So I look forward to it. I look forward to treating some of you who may not have been able to get out, who have been, needing my assistance. And the hours, I'm going to be posting the hours. So keep an eye out for that. And those of you who are already my patients, I will be sending out an email on Monday to you. But also please check my website, which is the-healing-house.com, and there'll be a panel at the end that will have that information. And I look forward to reconnecting with some of you, and I look forward to being able to once again provide also some of the energetic services that I've been unable to do. So this is a good thing, and I'm really excited to see how this all turns out. It's kind of a trial and error thing, but we'll make it work. And the important thing to me is that I still am able to be here for you. And so we will move on. So, take a nice deep breath in. And as you let it out, allow anything weighing on your body, your mind, or your spirit to fall into that little imaginary basket, which is your care basket. Because in this space and at this time, you don't need to hold on to it. Dear, blessed, and wonderful Creator, we thank you for this day and we thank you for our lives. We thank you for all the blessings you give in each and every moment and with each and every breath. We thank you for the blessing of community. We thank you for the blessing of faith. We thank you for the blessing of having people surround us who care about us and who we can care about. Thank you for the blessing of all those who are working really hard during this time to help others, all the essential workers, and especially those working in the hospitals and working as in the care facilities and as home health aides, because we know that they're working so tremendously hard to take care of people. We ask your blessing on all of those who are receiving vaccines, that those medications may enter their bodies in a gentle way and provide grace and provide protection. Creator, we ask that as we move through a new phase of this process, that we learn from it and that we hold very close the lessons that we've learned. Creator, we thank you for always being with us no matter what. We thank you for always showing a light. And truly, when one door closes, we know that not only do you open another one, but you're standing in that doorway saying, it's going to be all right, and you're going to love what you find. This is going to be good for you. And knowing that as we walk through that doorway, you are always there. Creator, we thank you for the blessing of and ask that you please bless Reverend Doti, who is working so hard to be able to keep providing that care and that support for everybody who is a part of her community and for those beyond it. We ask your blessings on the Universal Church of the Master and for all of those who work so hard to lead the church. Creator, we thank you for all of the kindness, all of the attention, all of the ways that you demonstrate in each and every opportunity that you are there with us. And for those who are going through a very difficult time, Creator, we know that you're with them as well. And we ask that they feel your grace, that they feel your love, that they feel the attention that you're giving them, and that it strengthened them to go through whatever it is that they need to go through. And that if they have need, that they ask and they reach out, because we know that a part of the way you show love is by being able to move that love through us into them. And thank you for being able to support and give energy and strength to all those who are working hard and who are struggling just to make ends meet. We call upon your blessing of gentleness for all of those affected by the weather. And we know that seasons move through and that everything happens for a reason, even if we don't understand it. And we do ask that the process of all those who are cold or in the dark or who are needing anything, that their needs be met, and that whatever they're meant to go through for whatever higher purpose be as gentle a process as possible. Creator, thank you for all you give and all you are. And whatever it means to you, we hope you have a wonderful day. For all your creation to the next 7 generations and beyond, Aho Matak Oyasin, Ago, 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 by earth, sea, and sky, Namaste, Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, blessed be, and Amen.
Hi, I'm Michael Imler, and I want to thank Dottie and Corky for having me be a part of CCL today. And today, I want to get a little bit more class course-like with you. I think I usually do things like that, but today I'm going to be sharing a lot of information about the moon and how to connect with the cycles of the moon so that you can improve your experience with whatever it is that you're working on, whether it's being on a diet or something to do with your business. And so you might want to have a pencil and piece of paper around, and you'll always be able to pause the video and go back and re-listen to things. So you might want to do that. So without further ado, entering the movement of creation and tracking the cycles of the moon. Now, this is based on the premise that we are co-creators of our reality. So the universe is basically providing the backdrop for our experience, but we have to make it happen. And so I always ask the question, are you letting life happen to you, or are you making life happen? So if we're co-creators, that means that we have to understand our tools. We have to understand the cycles and rhythms of the natural world, just like a painter has to understand how to use all the different styles of brushes and how to combine colors. We have to become like a hang glider. The hang glider uses the wind, but is not like a leaf blowing in the breeze. The hang glider decides where they want to go, just like a sailor decides where they want their boat to go. If you just let yourself float about, you succumb to the whims of creation in all of its forms. And the wind will blow you where it wants. And sometimes the wind may not blow at all. And that leaves you directionless, and even worse, motionless. So the movement of the universe is what I call spirit. Nothing in the universe stays stationary. And the rate of change can be incredibly fast, like a volcano or a tornado, and it can be really, really slow, like a rock, waiting for something to push it along. So understanding has to be part of your map. And it doesn't require much to be in motion. In fact, we're in motion most of the time doing something. The problem is that we don't often understand the forces that are enabling or opposing us. So consider the moon cycles. The moon is constantly in motion. Some of the motion is difficult for us. Some of that motion is easy for us. Sometimes when the moon is full, it just stares at us, reflecting our own being back to us, like seeing ourselves in a mirror. And all that is unconscious, staring us in the face. It becomes fully illumined, big and bright, and you have to witness it. You have to view it. Sometimes the moon is dark to us, where the moon is cast upon us, but we can't see the shadow. We can only feel its presence, just like we notice the shadow part of ourselves. It's like looking at the same mirror, except there's no light, no illumination. We can't see. We can only feel. It's like there's potential, but it needs to be directed. Now, most people will focus on what they're creating, and many will tell you that it's why you create that makes it appealing to others and even yourself. And in this instance, we're looking at the when to create. So that's what these cycles are, the when to create. And the forces of nature are pretty cyclical. For instance, the sun actually flips its magnetic poles every 11 years. Each planet has a consistent cycle of orbiting the sun and comes to a return back to the starting place, depending on where that starting place is that you're looking at that planet. Mercury goes around the sun every 88 Earth days. Venus goes around every 245 days or so. Mars goes around every 687 days or so. And the seasons recur annually because of the Earth's orbit and position around the sun. And there's the precession of the equinoxes. It's the wobble of the Earth's rotation, returning back to a point of origin every 25,700 years or so. And then the moon itself has a consistent orbit around the Earth, and that's about every 27.3 days. So cycles are all around us. And there are many cycles that we could look at, and the seasons are obvious cycles, as are the days of the week. But here we're going to look at the cycles of the moon and how they affect our endeavors. And that's anything that you want to accomplish, anything that hinders or aids your feelings and thoughts, etc. So one of the first things is keeping a moon journal. Now, a journal obviously is where you put your thoughts and feelings about things. In this case, we're going to look at the sign and the phase of the moon and whether it's creating a harmonious or inharmonious experience for you. You'll keep track of your emotions and how you feel each and every day and what quality the actions that you take have. So that means anything that any endeavor, like it could be grocery shopping, it could be calling mom, it could be doing your taxes. What is the quality of that experience that you're taking action on? Does it feel like there's resistance to it? Does it feel like it's coming easily for you? And then what emotions are getting in the way? And who do you know in your life that either triggers that emotion or displays that emotion to you? And there's an opportunity to integrate them. Now, journaling as a free write exercise, the things that can be really useful to journal would be memories from the day. They could be ideas that you're having right now. Those are ideas that you could be something you want to create, something that you dedicated yourself to, something that you made a commitment that you were going to do for someone else. Other things you can journal are feelings that you had about things that occurred recently. You could journal updates on projects that you're working on, milestones, things that were getting in the way. You can journal things that you're hoping for in the future, or dreams that you've had. And those are the literal dreams that you have while you're sleeping, but it could also be dreams that you have for your future, and then the intentions that you have for the future. So dreams are like the fantasy of what you have for the future for yourself, what is the best that you can arrive at, but then your intentions are those things that you are dedicating yourself to doing. You can also journal for spiritual guidance. So before sitting down to journal, you might ask for understanding about a situation. You might ask for insight on some decision that needs to be made. And you might ask for words that guide your intent. They could be symbols even that guide your intent. They could be things that are standing in the way, challenges that maybe you're not even aware of that you need to prepare for. And those are insights that can arise while you're opening yourself up in the space of journaling. Now, one of the things that's important to do to actually keep an accurate moon journal is to create a chart for understanding lunar energies and their impact on you. So, some things to know about the moon, how to accurately set this up. It changes signs every 2.27 days. So that means that the sun, like right now, is in Aquarius, but the moon is actually going through all 12 houses, all 12 signs, all 12 constellations. And it's doing that on the 27.3 day basis, and it's moving through each sign every 2.27 days. So that means the quality of that sign that it's moving through is impressed upon the moon. Something to consider is that when the moon is full, it's actually opposite the sun. That means that if you were to look at the sun, the earth, and the moon in a straight line, the earth would be sitting between the sun and moon. When we have a new moon, that means that the moon is sitting in between the earth and the sun. And when you see a quarter moon, either a first quarter moon in between the new moon and the full moon, or a last quarter moon in between the full moon and the new moon, the angle to the sun is actually 90 degrees. That means that we are seeing the moon off to the side of the earth. Okay, and that's why we have only that one half of it illumined. Now the lunar phases, these are the different amounts of light that the moon is receiving while it's orbiting the earth. The new moon, when the face of the moon to us is dark because the other side of the moon is what is receiving the sun's light. This is considered to be a time of new beginnings. It's a time to create new projects or ventures, a time of ideating, what I would consider the pregnant void. So there's a lot of possibilities. Nothing's in form, everything's in a state of potential. Then as the moon shifts position on its way to being 90 degrees between the earth and the sun, you get the crescent. The waxing crescent is that beautiful crescent moon that we see, and the time between the new moon and the first quarter, essentially. And it's a time when your plans, they start to formulate. The obstacles that are going to get in the way of those plans may start to arise and make themselves known. And this is often what I consider the place of overcoming inertia or procrastination. This is the time where we are going to face some of the things that will force us to decide whether we're capable of actually moving forward on this endeavor, or if we're going to slink back into the place of possibility. Now, you're seeing what's ahead of you as the details and the obstacles make themselves known. Now, the first quarter moon, this is halfway in between the new moon and the full moon, is where you're developing the structure by which to move forward. So there's a lot of planning as you move into execution. You build your team, you identify the people that are going to help you further your endeavor. And then you get to the waxing gibbous. This is the place in between the first quarter and the full moon. And you start to communicate how things are going. You get other people on board and maybe even starting to amass a following or garner encouragement. This is where you've told people about what you're doing, and you're still pouring a lot of energy into things that you're doing or creating. The full moon is where everything comes to a head. Areas of greatest difficulty make themselves known. Maybe even to the point of overwhelm. This is where you'll recognize that it's important to not do too much, and something may need to be let go of to achieve your aim. This is where you determine whether or not you've gotten overwhelmed, you've put too much on your plate, and what would actually need to be taken off of your plate so that you can continue on whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Now, the disseminating moon is where the moon starts on its waning phase. The other was the waxing phase. This is where it starts to wane. That means that the light reflecting off of the moon is going to start diminishing. And now we're talking about the disseminating moon between the full and last quarter. The full moon energy, which is at its peak, is now starting to diminish, and any changes that need to be made are being communicated and enacted. And when you get to the last quarter moon, things start to quiet down. This is a time where new insights start to drop in. They start to make themselves known and more apparent, and you're working toward creating some reflective time where you're not too pressured to be able to gather yourself and evaluate where things have been. You might begin to have some insight into the next phase, what you're going to move into, what changes need to occur. The last area is the phase between the last quarter and the new moon, and this is called the balsamic moon. And this is a place of stillness and a place of reflection. You're not motivated to work, but you're rather deciding on what new seeds you're going to plant and what new ideas you're going to incubate, what changes you're actually going to put into place to continue along your goal. This is often the place where people decide whether or not they're going to continue or not as well. Remember, about 26 days have gone by now on the full 27.3 day cycle. And some people will say, I didn't enjoy that too much. I'm actually going to stop this. So it's a place to decide, where are you at with this process? Did it work well for you? Do you feel like you have enough information from going through the cycle to enact new changes, to bring new things into place? Are you prepared to plant the new seeds? And did you gather the people that could support you the most? And this might also be a time where you decide that maybe some of the people you decided to gather for your endeavor weren't right people, and maybe you want to replace them with others, or maybe you're deciding that it's time to get help, actually, that the whole cycle was actually too much for one person. So you're allowing yourself to be illuminated and enlightened and informed. Now, as for the signs, it's not really necessary to know the meanings of all the signs as much as it is to know which ones work well for you and which ones don't. And, there's a lot of meaning ascribed to the different signs in astrology, and classic astrology has some signs being more beneficial and other signs being less beneficial, some being more challenging and some being less challenging. And I would say that actually every sign has both its light and its shadow. And so you have to know really what times of the month are working best for you when you're looking at the cycle or phases of the moon. It may be that you have a strong Aquarius in you, and when Aquarius comes around, you feel right at home, whereas somebody might have a weak Aquarius, meaning that they don't really understand the qualities of Aquarius. And so when the moon is in Aquarius, their energetic system is disrupted. So it's not really a one size fits all. Everybody has a different relationship to the different signs. And like I said, it's not really important to know exactly what those qualities are or whether or not they even work well for you based on having your natal chart cast. What is really important is that you understand that the moon is in that sign and you can anticipate the kind of experience that you're going to have, which is a unique experience unto you. So as I said, the moon changes signs every couple of days. And this means that we're not looking for the sign that the sun is based on. We're looking for an understanding that the moon is moving through those signs every couple of days, and you want to be able to keep track of them. So just be sure that you understand this distinction. Now, what I recommend is being associated with a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, you can even use 0 to 10 actually, which I often do. 0 or 1 means that that quality is highly deficient. 10 meaning that it's at its greatest. Now, the kind of things that you might want to measure, the kind of qualities that you might want to measure as the sun moves through all the signs and through all the phases every 27.3 days, things like emotional balance, or the amount of mental clarity that you have, or the amount of motivation that you have, or maybe there's a lot of procrastination. You can also measure physical energy, the ability to be able to do things at capacity. There could be creative power, communication ability, money coming in. You can look at things like interpersonal connections with families and friends. You can look at attracting clients and customers. You can look at being noticed by others. These are all very personal things, and I suggest that you spend some time looking at the things that you could measure on a daily basis from the scale of 1 to 10 to see when you're deficient in that thing and when that thing is abundant in your life. And then you start to notice patterns over a period of time. Now, the things that this information might tell you and why it's useful to do this kind of endeavor is, what if you're putting a date together to get together with friends, or you're planning a wedding, or if you're going to take your driver's test and you have to feel alert, or what if you're going to make an appointment to see your accountant and you need to be really mentally active so that you can follow their number theorems. What if you're brainstorming with a group of people and you need to be creatively awake? What if you're single and you're planning a date and you want to feel relaxed and comfortable? What if you're doing a social luncheon and are watching calories and you don't want to feel vulnerable by having to eat what everybody else is eating? Or you're on a special keto diet and you're going to be going to a restaurant where they may not have keto-friendly food or gluten-free food. What if you're going to help someone move and you want to feel strong and active? What if you're planning on doing an online course and you want the timing to be right for it? Or let's say you're planning an advertising campaign and you want to make sure that you're going to get noticed. What if you're starting a new business and you want a powerful start date? So these are all things that you might decide are really important to be tracking by the phases of the moon, because they're date dependent. They're what I would call your current state, emotional state, mental state dependent. So how you would do this is basically on the end of each day, look at where you've been as you're doing your journaling. Now, journaling can be free writing, and I highly suggest that you pick out the categories that you would like to measure on a day-to-day basis, so that you can just use one word to describe that experience and then put the 1 to the number 10 behind it based on how you feel about that particular quality. So you write down your chosen areas of measurement and the numbers that come to mind, and then next to it you write down the phase of the moon. Now, one of my favorite sites for keeping track of the phase of the moon and the sign that it's in is mooncalendar.astro-seek.com. That's mooncalendar.astro-seek.com. They have a fantastic month-by-month moon calendar that shows you the phase of the moon and the sign that it's in, and it'll actually show you what time the moon is going to transition from one sign to the next. I also am an Android user, and I have a little app called Moon Phases on my cell phone. I use that as well sometimes. And what you do is you write down the sign and the phase that the moon is in, and you keep track of it day by day. And then you, after a few months of doing this consistently, you'll start to notice the patterns. Now, not all of the areas that you're tracking are rising and falling together. I want to be clear about that. So you might keep a tally of all of the numbers combined. And what I do with that is I ascribe a range. So I look at it in three ranges. One is all of the qualities are depleted. The other is all of the qualities are actually at a really high level, and then there's a large gray in between. So I can look and see, is there consistency over a period of time, like when the moon is waxing compared to when the moon's waning. I can look and see what the overall number is, and that gives me some information. And then I can look at each quality individually, and I can see sometimes I'm very mentally aware and alert, while emotionally I'm not as stable, and vice versa. There are some times where I can be very mentally alert, but I don't feel very motivated to do anything. So you want to keep track of each of the individual qualities and look at what emotions are arising at different phases of the moon and in different signs, and what mental qualities are active or inactive during different moon sign and moon phases. And then you might look at particular physical motivations or spiritual motivations. So the things that you'll be tracking are the phase of the moon, the sign of the moon, and maybe even the time of day that things work or don't. There can be, you might know this already about yourself, but you might consider yourself a morning person. You might consider yourself an evening person. But then it might be the day of the week. There might be certain days of the week that are more active or less active for you, especially Monday. Monday happens to be the day of the moon. So you might just notice that day of the moon, I am more active, or that day of the moon, I'm less active. So Mondays could be good for a lot of people. They're not really good. They denote the beginning of the work week, and most people dread Mondays. But then some people are really active and accomplish like the entire week's worth of stuff on Mondays, and they can coast through the rest of the week. So it just depends. And so that's something that you'll want to pay attention to. Now, back to those four categories. So I look at things in terms of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual changes. So you might want to pay attention to, is the thing that you're tracking an emotional quality? Is the thing that you're tracking a physical quality? For instance, emotions might be not wanting to interface with clients or customers. The physical quality might be when you have to go out into the world and make contact with people, when you actually have to do some shopping, when you actually have to move things around in a warehouse, whatever it is, related to physical activity. Mental activity, if you have things that are very challenging mentally, like maybe you do your bookkeeping on Fridays or something. Maybe you want to switch that to Thursdays, or maybe you want to do your bookkeeping every other week because you notice that you do your bookkeeping better on the waxing moon as opposed to the waning moon. So those are things to keep track of. And then spiritual changes would be, how connected do you feel to this process at all? Is it simply rote behavior? Do you not have much invested in it? Or are you really tuning into the qualities of the moon and how they relate to you? Are you going outside and looking at the moon and really examining it and allowing the light, the reflection of the sun, to reflect upon you, and using that as a spiritual quality and really tuning into and dialing into the qualities of the moon? That might be the spiritual changes that you would notice. Now, some of the ideas that you might have for how to keep track of your moon journal, you can put it on Post-it notes and keep it on a large Post-it paper on a wall. There's a great tool called Trello, which you can find at Trello.com. That's Trello. That's a great way of, if you like to do things digitally, you can put little online Post-its together. You can do it in a spreadsheet in Excel or Google Docs or Pages, whatever you use. You could use Evernote, which is a really great tool for keeping track of notes. That's available on both the iPhone, iOS, and Android platforms. There's a great little tool called Taskit, where you can write down tasks. You might be able to work that out for yourself. You could have a kitchen magnet, where you hang a piece of paper and then you just write on the refrigerator what phase of the moon you're in. And you can even use Google Calendar or Outlook or iCal. I particularly like that. It's a great tool to use the actual Google Calendar itself and put in a day where you, in the description of your event, you put down your journal information. So last but not least, the effort that you put into this will be, the rewards will start to make themselves noticeable to you. But it will take a little bit of effort. You won't get anything. What happens is the first month is just about tracking and you start to notice things. The second month, you will start to look at things and you'll start to reflect back to the first month and notice if there are any similarities. But it's really at the third month that you start to draw the patterns. So you want to pay attention that this is something that it's not going to give you immediate gratification. You're going to have to put some effort into it, even though it's minimal effort. And for those of you that really like self-reflection, this is going to be easy for you. And some of you might already do this. But just know there's great value to it to start to notice the patterns. You know, we are basically pattern-based creatures. Everything is based on neurology and the patterns that we develop in our brains that create the belief systems by which we work with. So you're just adding a new level of information to help you make decisions about areas where you might want to draw back your efforts or areas where you really want to push your efforts because the timing, the when is right. So I hope that you'll notice that after the initial push, that the things that you learn about yourself, you may not have been previously aware of. You may notice some things come very easily and other things don't come very easily. You may notice that some things that you've been putting effort into aren't producing the results that you want, and that much of it may have been timing. And you may notice that you spread your time on things but aren't getting the results that you want, and you may want to get personal assistance for that thing rather than trying to push the boulder uphill by yourself. You may notice that some things come so easily that you're doing them more often than you should as an avoidance tactic to things that are more difficult. So pay attention to that as well. Often, a lot of people, it's not even about procrastination because they still feel like they're very active, but they just keep doing the things that come really easily for them as opposed to putting in the effort to things that don't come easily. And I would actually say that this is often an issue with life's purpose. Often people do what comes easy to them for most of their lives because the things that are challenging to them, they don't realize that actually will produce the most reward for them, but they've been pushing it off because it has never been that easy for them and they fall back on what is easiest. So just pay attention if you're doing that. And you may notice that in the four categories, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical, that you may not be as consistent in all four categories. So I believe that there's a good harmonious balance to come into with all four of those categories. And if you are finding that the categories are lopsided, like maybe you are putting a lot of effort in getting a lot of consistency out of the spiritual and the emotional, but then the mental and the physical are lacking, or vice versa. So you'll want to pay attention to that and see, is there an opportunity for personal growth? Is there an opportunity to spread things out evenly to come back more into a harmonious balance? So it's also essential to examine how we think and feel at these times and direct that energy and emotion for the intent of what we would like to have our energy be moving towards. So, for example, like maybe making a change in diet, or changing a career path, or healing a relationship with someone. Maybe making that appointment that you needed to make and have been pushing off, or giving back to the world in some way. So I hope that this has been really useful. I hope that you'll get from this exercise a clear picture of who you are. And the more that you understand what makes you tick and why, you'll be able to have clear actions that come from a complete and whole human being. And you'll have a greater understanding of your relationship to the greater forces of nature and how we're all here to work together, humans and nature herself. Thank you very much.
Love in our heart flows and it grows. Love in our heart flows, it grows. My beloved people, I invite you to go to your heart now, to bring forth all the light that shines in you. This is our time. This is our moment to know that we can be that light of healing for ourselves and for each other. Journey to the landscape of your heart and know that you can find a beautiful and peaceful place there. Bring it home. Bring it home to your body. Bring it home to your soul. And know that love builds and creates a powerful and meaningful way for you to be in the world. I will journey to my heart, and I will find treasure there. You, oh love, are with me, no matter where my journey takes me. The river is flowing with love. Sweet love fills me, is me, oh love. Sweet love, it reveals me, it brings me to love. Sweet love, oh the essence of all I am in here. Sweet love, oh love, follow me, follow me, follow me home and live in me, so that I might shine out, giving me abundant energy to shine. Oh, and bring me to this moment now, so my faith and hope can ring. Oh, love, sweet love, I am here, I am in this moment, love, sweet love, you give me back myself. And you always were love, you always are love. You bring me back to myself. You always bring love. You always shine love back to myself. And so know, as you open up your arms to embrace, the love that is in you, is around you, lives through you, and emanates from you. Oh, sweet love.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of faith and fellowship. We'll be back next Sunday. And for those of you, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. If you appreciate this video and the work that the Center for Creative Living is doing, please press like on the video. You can share the video. And also, please subscribe, because that will help this community and the church grow. Remember, in these difficult and challenging times, the opportunity to give and support an organization that has done so much for the community is tremendously important. Please help the Center for Creative Living continue in the wonderful work that it does. We will make it through this. We will be stronger for it. Our faith will carry us. Be blessed, be safe, and have a wonderful week.